What's up everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about Fontaine and whether or not we've peaked. Now, if we want the short answer, yes, we've peaked. If we're just gonna look at it from the banner's perspective, I think the most powerful DPS has came out, the most important character overall has came out, being Neuvillette for DPS, as well as Farina being the Hydro Archon. So technically speaking, in terms of Fontaine, we've peaked, right? There's gonna be many people dropping off now or taking it relatively chill until eventually either A, another character that they really want in Fontaine comes out, or B, we enter natlan. But I hope people don't just write things off immediately right now or just kick it into relax mode. There definitely is some more units out there in Fontaine that I do think deserves people's attention, depending on how they might pan out. If this is your first time here, the name's Walrus. I know I have EroticWalruss as the channel title, but you can just call me Walrus. If you enjoy quick discussion videos about Genshin Impact, you might find it somewhat entertaining to stick around. But anyways, let's talk about Fontaine. So when talking about these major region arcs, it's best to use other regions as references. Although not all regions share similar character release timings, for example, the most powerful DPS outside of the Archon in Inazuma is widely considered to be Ayaka, and she was released fairly early. However, the most powerful DPS in Sumeru, obviously being Dia, I'm kidding, Alhaitham, was released quite a bit later into the patch. I know there's people arguing for other DPS options, but my point here is that just because one region shows that the most powerful DPS is released at a certain time doesn't mean other regions will share that similarity. The thing with Fontaine right now is that Neuvillette has already broken and shattered what was considered possible in terms of DPS, especially with his constellations as well, making it so much easier to deal that kind of damage. It really makes one think, is the point here still to do more damage, or is there something else in Fontaine? And I think it really leans towards the latter, and let me explain. Right now, Hoyoverse has yet to fix some of the biggest problems they've had in the game since, eons, since the game's inception, and that is true balance within the element system. They were really smart with how they integrated Dendro to not only be a refreshing element, but also to uplift some other elements that were in much need of some help. However, unfortunately, not all elements got the same treatment when Dendro came out. And one of the last element in the game that really needs a facelift is Geo. I'm sure nobody is here to argue against that point. If you are, I'm sorry, you're kind of a clown, but Geo right now is one of the most underutilized elements in the game. It is terrible as a support element. It is terrible as a straight out DPS element unless you have heavily invested into a mono Geo team, which in of itself is a questionable decision if your goal is to experience Genshin from different perspectives. But I'm not here to judge. My point is, as a game which has a complex elemental interaction system, it is borderline criminal how uninteractive Geo is. A lot of people would point to Crystalites and say, hey Walrus, you're not being fair with this. Crystalites has the same number of interactions as Swirl. And to that I say, yeah, technically you're correct, but technical correctness is not what we're going for here. With how Genshin Impact is designed, both for Overworld as well as for Abyss, because I know everybody's gonna say, oh, who cares about the Abyss? But for the Overworld as well, efficiency is key here. You want to get things done as efficiently as you can. No one is out here trying to artificially make their playthrough more difficult or draw out the time as much as possible. And I'm sure you guys know where I'm going with this. So everything leads to doing more damage. While defense and survivability is also important, since the inception of Genshin Impact, it has never really been the driving force behind a more efficient playthrough. Hence why Crystalites currently is still so heavily underutilized, because there's just no point in stacking paper thin shields. And nowadays you even have a character who has paper thin shields which refreshes itself when you click his burst skill, right? Baiju. Hoyoverse literally created an entire character to do what Crystalites does, but better. So it's to no one's surprise that there likely will come a time when a new Geo character arrives that maybe will help Crystallize out a little bit, and if not that, then help Geo out a little bit. And guess what? There just happens to be a Geo character that is going to be released later in Fontaine. Now, am I saying that Navia is going to be the one to uplift Geo from the current state? Obviously not. She could very well just be another Geo support or Geo DPS for you to slot into your mono Geo team. But hey, one anyone can dream. And that is one of the reasons why I don't believe Fontaine has actually peaked yet. Because in my opinion, getting another powerful DPS, or wow, look, the Hydro Archon, well, yes, it's exciting, but it's really not what the game desperately needs. I would give Nouvlet up for an entire remake of the Geo element any day of the week. And I'm sure a lot of people would do as well, because, well, yes, Nouvlet is an incredible DPS, and combining him with Furina just makes the game so much easier. But if I have to be honest, I would love to see the day where Geo is slotted into any team and feels just as important as any other element in the game. Furthermore, I think a lot of people are actually waiting for Arlecchino. Yes, we're finally getting the big bad mommy, and I do believe she's of the Pyro element. So it leads me into thinking that she might not be as broken on release as until we get into natlan. So while Arlecchino herself is incredibly hype, I don't think we're going to see her true potential. But just of these two facts, I don't believe Fontaine has peaked yet. If you guys are still playing through the game, or you're relatively new and thinking, oh man, I missed the Archon if you just joined recently, don't fret. Archons rerun almost always, if not always, 3 patches after their initial release. So people who missed them the first time around, or people who wanted to sit on the sideline because they picked up another character, have the chance to pick them up. So combining with these factors, yes, you have a potential revolutionizing Geo character along with a Pyro Harbinger. Fingers crossed, she's going to be amazing in Melt and Vaporize, and not just one or the other. But if my theory from before holds up, I don't think Melt and Vaporize will ever work together in one Pyro character apart from the Pyro Archon. And of course, finally, the rerun of Furina all leads to Fontaine still having some spark left to deliver. But again, like always, comment down below on what you guys think as whether or not Fontaine has truly peaked and it's really better, and really people should just be looking towards natlan now. Again, name's Walrus. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy these kind of videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, urge y'all to stay safe. Peace, bye bye.